I found out my boyfriend was about to propose to me but then got cold feet. Now I only get the cold shoulder. Am I cooked? Posted by you/acetylsalicylic acid. I, 26F, have been with my boyfriend John, 29M, for 5 years. We have a pretty awesome relationship, great communication, fun, easygoing, with good chemistry. We've always talked about getting married, and I had no doubts that we would be getting engaged very soon. Recently John's closest friend, and his girlfriend went on a trip to Vegas for several days. We had a great time, all 4 of us, and on our last night there, John told us he wanted to go to the Bellagio fountains to see them before we had to leave. Everyone was up for it. We went for a nice dinner beforehand and then began watching the fountains as the music came on. It was really romantic, and I was really enjoying myself. That's when John grabbed my wrist, turned me toward him, and I saw that he was sweating profusely. His face was bright red, and he looked like he was about to pass out from trembling so hard. The whole time, it seemed like he was about to say something, but he never did. He just informed all of us that he wasn't feeling well and wanted to go back to the hotel. Our friends looked really puzzled and whispered to each other all the way back to the hotel. I kept asking John if he was okay, and he just said he probably had too much to drink. We've been back for a couple of weeks, and he's been acting really distant and cold. I honestly knew something weird was up that night in Vegas, so I called John's friend's girlfriend, who I'm fairly close to, and asked if she knew what was going on with John, since he had been at their place a lot this past week instead of coming home. Eventually, she spilled the beans and told me he had planned to propose to me that night at the fountains but then didn't. That's why the 2 of them had been acting so confused. I kept pressing her, and she also told me that John had confided in his friend that it didn't feel right. She made me promise not to tell John that I knew because she didn't want anyone to be upset with her. I feel sick to my stomach. We live together, but he's been spending all his time at his friend's house or at his parents' place since we got back. He barely calls or responds to my texts anymore. I don't know what happened that night, but I feel like he's about to end things. I want to talk to him, but I don't know how to approach the issue. Do I just say, "Hey, I heard you were going to pop the question the other night but changed your mind, what gives?" Was he just really nervous? Ugh, I'm freaking out. Edit. He'll be home shortly. I told him over the phone that I needed to talk to him, and his words were, "I need to talk to you too. I'll update when I can, thanks for all the advice." Update 1 day later. Hello everyone, I apologize for not updating sooner, but a lot has happened. I want to say thank you to everyone who posted comments and tried to reassure me. So, John came home last night around 11:30 while I was watching TV in our bedroom. He came in and looked like complete crap, his eyes were tired and baggy, and he smelled like booze. He apologized for the way he had been acting recently and told me he knew that I was aware of the almost proposal because he had talked to his friend Mike, who told him that his girlfriend Tara had shared everything with me. He explained that he had the whole proposal planned out. He was going to pop the question while Tara and Mike took pictures, and then we would return to a romantic, more expensive room in our hotel, which Mike and Tara ended up staying in that night to keep me from realizing John had planned to propose. They switched key cards while I was walking back. He then told me what I was afraid of, it just didn't feel right. I was looking at you, and it just wasn't what I wanted. Ouch. He explained that he had been nervous ever since he bought the ring, but thought those feelings would go away once he actually proposed. In the moment, though, he realized it wasn't what he wanted and felt it would be better not to ask me to marry him because he knew it wasn't what he wanted in the long run. At that point, I was in hysterics, knowing this was the end of our relationship. I tried to stay calm and rational, but there was a moment where I was crying so hard that I literally got down on my knees, put my head in his lap while he sat on the couch, and just kept incoherently saying please between sobs. Not my proudest moment. But in that moment, this man was my best friend, the person I envisioned as the future father of my children. I never, ever thought our relationship would come to this. He ended things with me last night because it didn't feel right, and that's all he could say, over and over, it just doesn't feel right anymore. I can't see myself with you. At that point, I could barely breathe, feeling like I was having a panic attack, so I called my mom, and she came to pick me up from our place. My poor mom just looked so helpless while I sat in the car, crying so hard that I eventually got a nosebleed. I wish I could say this was the end of the story, but more has happened since last night. This morning, I was on Facebook, looking through old pictures of John and me, sobbing uncontrollably and sending him text after text with reasons why we should be together. At some point, I stumbled onto Mike's page through a tagged photo. He had updated his status a few hours earlier to something like, "California was amazing, wish work would send me for more than 5 days." My stomach dropped, because John had been telling me he was spending time with Mike on the days he was practically ignoring me. But Mike had been in California for several days, and we're in Canada, so definitely not close by. I freaked out. I called Mike from my house phone, and when he answered, I said, "Hey, it's up." All he could say after a few seconds of silence was, "Fudge." Basically, Mike has been covering for John while John has been spending time with a girl he's apparently been sleeping with for the past 6 months. I know this girl, John works with her, and she's always been really sweet to me whenever I've seen her at John's work-related events. Mike told me that John confessed he was falling in love with her, and this was after the incident in Vegas. John has been spending almost all of the past 2 weeks with her. Mike admitted that John had made him promise not to tell anyone, not even Tara, but he felt guilty and was glad I called him. He apologized and said that if I needed to tell John that he was the one who told me, I could. That's all I know for now. I haven't contacted John yet, and I'm not sure if Mike has told him that I know. I honestly have no idea what I'm going to do. I've been throwing up all day. I took one of my mom's Ativans, which has helped calm me down a bit, but whenever I think about it, practically all that's on my mind, I feel disgusted, humiliated, and devastated. It really feels like my heart is breaking in two, and I have no control. I still need to get my stuff from our place. I need to find a new place to live. And then there's the dog. Who gets the dog? I love my dog. Everything feels so surreal. Edit. John called me a bunch of times while I was in a medication-induced depression coma. I woke up as he was calling again and ended up answering without really thinking about it. He was crying, apologizing. I guess Mike told him that I knew, and saying he was confused. He asked me where I was, and I lied, saying I was with my sister an hour away at her place. I asked if he was with her, and he said yes, but that he'd be home tomorrow, so could I please meet him at our house to talk about things? I said sure. A little while ago, I asked my mom to drive me to our place, and I kidnapped my dog, bringing her back with me. I'm feeling much better. And I'm definitely not meeting him tomorrow. You guys, I didn't think it would help this much to ask for advice, but I've read every single comment, and honestly, I feel 1,000 times better than I did just a few hours ago. Thank you so much. I feel so different, it's weird, but in the best way.